District. Today I'm at Daniel Hoff Family Farm in Mansalona, Michigan, and I'll be talking about the Michigan Agriculture Environmental Assurance Program, or better known as MEAP for short, and talking about how this program helps farms big and small to implement best management practices and also to prevent environmental risks. So MEAP is a statewide program administered by the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, but it's implemented locally by technicians like myself out of the conservation districts. MEAP is a proactive, voluntary, and confidential program that seeks to assist farms of all sizes and all commodities in engaging in cost-effective pollution prevention practices. So the main goal is really to help protect our groundwater, our surface water, critical habitat, soils, and other natural resources. In addition, MEAP also helps to get these farms into compliance with any relevant federal or state environmental laws and regulations, as well as in line with the Right to Farm, the Michigan Right to Farm Generally Accepted Agriculture and Management Practices, which is a mouthful, so we just call it GAMPS for short. So getting MEAP verified is a simple three-phase process. Producers start with a phase 1 education session that they can do either in person or online. The next step is to have your local MEAP technician come out to the farm and do a little walkthrough of the farm and go through the MEAP assessment tools. The technician and farmer then identify together any things that need to be done on the farm to meet those MEAP standards. So the technician will take back that kind of to-do list that they put together and create an action plan and works with the farmer over time to get them into compliance with those MEAP standards. And once everything has been completed at the pace of the farmer, a MEAP verifier with MDARD will come out to the farm and perform third-party verification, which is very similar to the original process that you go through with the technician, and just make sure everything is squared away and verified that the things that they needed to complete have been done. And then they'll receive their sign, and if all goes well, and then be recognized as a MEAP verified farm by the state of Michigan. So operations do vary greatly. So we do, in order to be site specific for farms, the assessment tools that we use are subdivided into different things that we call systems, and which look at different components of that farming operation. So the four main systems are the farmstead system, the livestock system, the cropping system, which is further subdivided into different categories just depending on what's being grown and how. And then the fourth and final system is the forest, wetland, and habitat system, which is a great tool for not only farmers that have forested land, but also non-farmers that might have forested land, woodlots, wetland habitat, or maybe upland habitat that they'd like to manage sustainably. So farms are able to select which systems they'd like to be verified in. It could be all four, or it could just be one or two. So there are a lot of really great reasons that farms like to pursue MEAP verification. Some farmers pursue this because they really want that peace of mind that they're doing their part to help protect local water and land resources, especially since their own farms and families rely on these things as well. So they really have a stake in it. Another big reason that many farmers do MEAP is because it provides growers with some additional protection against any legal risks or action that could result from perhaps a right to farm complaint. So MEAP verification essentially provides you with the tools and at your disposal to address any existing issues or even provide a defense against any sort of unverified complaint. So verification in MEAP is also a really great way to show consumers that not only are you putting in so much effort into providing really great products for market, but also shows that you're being a good land steward of the land that you're farming, as well as concerned with natural resource conservation and really being mindful of that. So participating in MEAP can also reduce a farm's liability insurance costs, and also it helps increase access to cost share opportunities. For example, through EQIP with NRCS, if you're looking to get a manure storage building or facility, or perhaps an agricultural handling facility, you can use that, utilize the MEAP fund code through NRCS to get put into a separate applicant pool that has less competition, so you're more likely to get your application funded. So a few of the things that I wanted to talk about best management practice-wise are, well, really whether or not you're a large livestock farm or a small market garden CSA farmer, ag land use, just like many other land uses, can contribute to both non-point source pollution and on occasion point source pollution. Some of the major pollutants that can be a result of farming activities are things like sediments, nutrients, organic matter, heavy metals, fuel products, pesticides, and pathogens. And on occasion, accidental discharges do happen. So we work with farms on both fronts, mitigating the risks of that non-point source pollution that would happen from runoff issues, as well as having safety measures and action plans in place to address any accidental spills from the farm, like manure, fertilizer, or chemicals, fuels, and other things. So there are a number of different ways that ag operations can minimize their environmental risks and prevent accidental discharges, both with strategic infrastructural setups, managerial practices, and landscape level conservation practices. A few of these infrastructural ways include utilizing waste storage facilities for things such as manure, agricultural byproducts, wastewater, or contaminated runoff. Here at Daniel Hoff, Caitlin and Larry scrape their livestock lots, pig barn, and chicken coop every few weeks and compost much of this in a homemade yet very effective composting area. They rotate the locations of these composting sites since they're not on concrete in order to reduce nutrient buildup in the soil that could cause runoff or nutrient leaching. Another facility that you'll see around our area quite a bit is agrochemical handling facilities and fuel transfer pads. And so these are built with an impervious surface to provide an isolated, environmentally safe area for the handling of any agrochemicals, whether they're organic or conventional pesticides and fertilizers, as well as fuel. So another important practice is anti-backflow prevention, which can be accomplished using air gaps or with special devices on a well system to ensure that bacteria from, say, a livestock water doesn't get siphoned back up. Same with irrigation setups, making sure that nothing in those lines is ending up back in the aquifer. So here at Daniel Hoff, Caitlin and Larry ensure that they don't have any backflow issues from their livestock watering systems by always maintaining an air gap when they're filling their waterers, so that if they lose power, it can't be siphoned back up, that water that's in their watering tanks. So outside of infrastructure, there are also a lot of managerial practices that are employed on farms to minimize environmental risks. One example includes ensuring that annual nutrient management plans are in place and that soils are tested every 1 to 4 years to ensure that nutrients, whether that's through manure, compost, legume cover crops, or other fertilizers applied to the crops, doesn't exceed the nutrient needs and uptake of that plant. Also, a really thought out integrated pest management plan is key for every farm, and this is essentially an ecosystem-based strategy that focuses on long-term prevention of pests through a combination of different practices, and it's done in such a way to minimize any environmental risks or public health concerns. Although all of these things are considered to be under that conservation practice umbrella, there's some landscape level conservation practices that can also help mitigate risks, and these are the ones that help prevent wind and water erosion, which in turn reduces off-site sediment transport that can impair water resources and also carry other pollutants that are attached to those soil particles. So, for example, a grassed waterway is a shaped or graded channel that is used to basically convey water using like suitable vegetation at a non-erosive speed into a stable outlet. So these waterways convey any such runoff from perhaps concentrated flow areas or terraces or diversions where erosion control is needed. So this can really help improve any issues with rills or gullying, and also reduces the sediment carried off by runoff water for downstream areas. So filter strips are areas of herbaceous vegetation situated between cropland or a disturbed area or maybe a grazing pasture and an environmentally sensitive area. And these sensitive areas include things like streams, lakes, wetlands, and other bodies, and areas susceptible to damage by waterborne pollutants. So reduced till and managing residue is another great practice that basically manages the amount and orientation and distribution of crop and other plant residues on the soil surface, while also limiting the amount of soil disturbing activities that are happening during the growing season. So this practice is really beneficial because it helps increase soil organic matter, improve soil tilth, and also increases the productivity of that organic material being decomposed by healthy populations of things like earthworms and other organisms. Critical area planting is another great practice that basically establishes permanent vegetation on sites that have or are expected to have high erosion rates, and on sites that have conditions that prevent the establishment of vegetation with normal practices. So the conservation benefits of this are reduced sheet and rill erosion, reduced transport of sediment, more stabilized slopes and road banks, and shorelines and sand dunes. And last but not least, I wanted to touch on cover cropping, which is a practice that includes planting things like grasses, legumes, forbs, or other herbaceous plants that are established for seasonal cover and conservation purposes. Cover crops reduce erosion, they capture and recycle excess nutrients, and they, such as free nitrogen in the soil profile and other nutrients, and they also increase the available soil moisture, among many other benefits. So if you'd like to learn more about MEEP, feel free to contact me at the Grand Traverse Conservation District. Again, my name is Lauren Silver, and we're out at Daniel Hoff Farm, and it's a beautiful day.